Lying isn't wrong. It's just fear. The fear of facing who we really are when it matters most. The fear that if we tell the truth that we'll lose something, maybe respect or connection, our own identity, some love maybe. So we avoid it and we craft something a bit more palatable, something more flattering, something that we think we can manage better. Lying isn't always telling a big story. It's sometimes just a small distortion. Sometimes it's leaving something out. Sometimes it's embellishing for dramatic effect. It's a strategic edit. And at first, it probably works. It seems to work. People nod and they smile and they might trust us now and they might stop questioning us. It's no surprise that it becomes something that we want to do again. We breathe a little easier. Maybe the crisis has now been averted. But then I think the exhaustion starts to set in. Because lying, whether it's lying to ourselves or lying to other people, it's work. It's hard work. It's a game of constantly tracking. Having to constantly remember, it's fixing continuity errors, it's remembering who we told and what we told, hoping that they don't find out. It's like keeping multiple tabs open at once and making sure that the browser doesn't crash. Pretty tiring. And it's not just because of this upkeep, but because of deep down, we're just one mistake away from becoming discovered. I think imposter syndrome for many people is a result of faking it till we make it. Guilt is knowing that the lie doesn't work, and shame is feeling the weight of those choices, deceiving ourselves and the people around us. People that we say we love, people who love us, people who want to help us and whom we want to help. And even if we can't name it, we can feel when something's off. We can feel when something or someone doesn't add up. It's often subtle. It's small clues. It's things that sound good to be too good to be true maybe, and the dots don't seem to connect. It's when the words don't match the actions, that the results don't match the practice. It's someone who says that they're fine when we know they're not. It's someone who says something doesn't matter to them when clearly it does. It's someone who's trying so hard to have us see them in a certain way, and yet it's not working. They constantly try to maybe bombard us with proof or with evidence, and yet there's just this part of us that can't help it but wonder, why are they trying so hard? Is it not true? Are they trying to make it true? Maybe they think that if they say it enough times or loudly enough that people will think that it's true. The irony of trying to appear trustworthy is that we actually start to then feel less trustworthy. I think we know when we're lying, and hoping that if they buy it long enough that somehow we can make it come true, we can pull it off somehow. That maybe we're more confident than we feel, or less bothered that we are, or more closed off and scared than we're willing to admit. I think it takes immense courage, to be honest, especially in a world that rewards. It encourages distortion and reframing and repackaging. The thing is, we all want to be fooled at times. We all know the deal is too good to be true, and yet we badly want it to be true. We're energetic beings long before we became intellectual ones. So when the energy doesn't match the words and the details don't quite line up, we notice that there's something missing. We notice that our intuition is whispering something to us. My own ability and aptitude for lying allows me to detect it in others. The better I became at lying, the better I became at seeing the lies in others. And I'm not talking just at a verbal level, I'm talking at the emotional, physical, and energetic level of lying. And I know the game of lying and self-deception well because I've lived it. I became masterful at repackaging and reframing and moving the game board to sell the same reality but from a new perspective. It's why I worked in advertising. It's why I worked in sales and marketing and product design and user experience and human behavior and psychology. I learned all the skills and the frameworks and the motivations and the causes for why we do what we do. When people learn this, some people use this knowledge and they become masterful manipulators. For me, I've chosen to use this knowledge to become masterful at being a mirror for people, to help them see the deception and the stories and the manipulations that are happening in front of them, often by themselves. I want to use this skill to see past the story and image that people sell to themselves and to each other, to get to the source and the truth, to get to the fork in the road before the choice to lie was made. I liken this work to playing battleships. The goal of battleships is sort of to deceive and to hide the truth. We try so hard to hide the truth and trick our opponents, all while trying to figure out their truthful position. And like most games, it becomes not just about the game itself, but the person playing it. We inevitably find each other's battleships, but often not by what we hit. We find them as a result of filling in the blanks. Our battleships hide in the silhouette. In all my years of studying, navigating, and helping people, I've just learned that we reveal the shape of the truth by everything we won't say, everything we won't do, won't feel, won't face. A person's strong opinions, their behaviors and views, they all reveal the person's experiences. A person's judgments, triggers, reactions reveals their inner conflicts. A person's addictions, avoidance, deflection, it reveals their pain. So by the time we're finally ready to tell it, to admit the thing that we've been dancing around or even hiding from, well, I think that most people already know. I think most people by this stage have already pieced it together and they've just been waiting for the person to admit it. They've felt it in their gut. They've watched it play out when we're under pressure. And honestly, more often than not, I don't know if people are happy about it when the truth finally comes out. They're resentful. They're tired. They're frustrated that it took this long for us to own up to it. While they might feel relieved that we finally come clean to ourselves, they've also created a space between us. This is how these relationships break down. When we're faced with the prospect that our battleships are now exposed, it can be really scary. There's nowhere to hide now. There's no hands left to play. And so now we're faced with the consequences of what comes next when we get hit. I don't think that we're actually scared of the truth, though. We're scared of what it might reveal or mean about us. There is this fear that it will finally expose our inner dialogue and these deeply held beliefs that we have about ourselves, that we're weak or we're selfish, that we're a liar, that we're fake, that we're not as good as we say we are or want people to think we are. Maybe we find ourselves backed into some sort of corner and, well, that's a really tough day. But that's one of the consequences of lying. And we might get away for a long time, but the truth eventually comes out. And the question is, how prepared are we for when it does? For if we've spent our whole life mastering the lie and not telling the truth, then we don't have the skill and the muscle and the capacity for the day that our battleship gets discovered. Lying doesn't make us a liar. It makes us human. It makes us a human who gets scared, who chooses to lie in order to feel better in the moment. Lying is just a signal, like an engine light in a car. It's highlighting something inside of us that feels challenged, but perhaps is too fragile to be fully seen or even acknowledged. We can choose to ignore this light and hope that it goes away by turning up the volume or looking the other way, or we can choose to face ourselves and understand what we're actually afraid of. I don't think you're a bad person for lying. I don't also think you're a good person for being honest. I think you're just a human being doing the best you can to face yourself without fear and without falling apart. And yet trying to make ourselves comfortable can be a double-edged sword. Because while we get to avoid the discomfort of our real reflection, we can start to also believe the illusion and mistake that for what's true. We can move further away from who we really are and closer to another mask that we now have to manage. Every time people talk about these hats they wear, it's very rarely positive. Maybe they don't even want to do it, but it's just something they did to get along many years ago, and now it just became normal. If you've done trying to be everything for everyone else and betraying yourself in the process, then maybe today's the moment you choose to change that. Today can be day 1 of radical self-honesty, or it can be day 10,001 of radical self-deception. Whatever you choose is okay with me. I just hope it's a deal that you're genuinely happy with. Because if you aren't, well, you're allowed to change it, and you can change it now if you really want to. When was the last time you were able just to tell the truth without needing to reframe it, soften it, or make it easier to digest for someone else? Our community is about the whole truth, telling the whole truth with courage. And so if you feel ready to look in the mirror and face yourself fully, we're here. I do hope to see you inside. Lastly, if you enjoy these videos and you'd like to see more of them, please let me know. You can like, comment, share, or just send me a message. It all helps. Thank you.